Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Jess Talent, and I'm the Parent and Family Programs Coordinator in New Student Programs and Family Outreach here at Oregon State. Today I have Britt Hoskins with us. She is the Assistant Director of Career Development within our Career Development Center here. Britt's here with us today to talk to you a little bit about how you can best help your student prepare in regards to career development, not only beginning within their first year here at OSU, but beyond. So I'm going to get us started. I'm going to ask Britt a couple of questions, and so to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Oregon State specifically with career development?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm a career advisor here at Oregon State, and specifically I work with the colleges of Agricultural Sciences, Forestry, and Earth, Ocean, and Atmospheric Sciences. So there's one of me in each of the colleges, as well as the main Career Development Center that I'm a part of. And then as far as what I do, you might see me in individual career advising appointments. You can make those if you're in my colleges. I teach, workshops and lectures and things like that. So I might come into a class. I might be planning a career fair or events. I might be working with employers. It's really kind of a full spectrum of career advising stuff that I do.
Awesome. Yeah. What do students meet with their career advisors about?
Yeah, so you might guess that we work through resumes and cover letters, and so that's a big part of what we do. But it's really a lot broader than that. So it could be a practice mock interview. It could be career exploration. What do I want to do with my life? What can I do with my major? That kind of thing. Job searching, strategies, networking, LinkedIn. It's really broad. Whatever your student needs, they can meet with someone to talk about that.
Beyond college-specific advisors, what career services are offered at Oregon State?
Mm-hmm. So I'd like to mention the Central Career Development Center. They do drop-in hours, so 9 to 4, Monday through Friday. You can just walk in with your resume or your questions, and we have a team of career assistants that can help you. I also like to mention other places where you can just drop in. You don't need an appointment. They can just help you out. So there's the Oregon State, the Writing Center. So you can work on your cover letter, your grammar, and that kind of thing. And so you got some English majors behind you there. And then the Undergraduate Research Office also has drop-in hours. So if you're really thinking, I want to team up with a professor, I want to really dig in a lab, either as kind of a job or just as a volunteer, they can help you with those kinds of opportunities. So there are a lot of opportunities out there if you kind of know who to ask around campus.
Fantastic. In regards to employment, do employers ever come to campus?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you don't have to always go out and find the employers. We bring a lot of them to you. Once per term, so fall, winter, and spring, we have a career expo, and we bring hundreds of employers to campus, and they're from all different majors. Engineering, business, natural resources. They're all here on campus. And then there's also college-specific career events that involve employers. So in my colleges, forestry, agriculture, and then earth, ocean, and atmospheric sciences, we do a federal and state employer panels because a lot of our students want to work in the government. So just how do they do that federal job application? How do they stick out? And we'll bring employers and answer questions. So just keep an eye out for those things in your own colleges. There's a lot of opportunities there.
What is one of your biggest pieces of advice for parents?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of times parents are just wondering, okay, what can I do? How can I support students in this difficult process of figuring out what they want to do with their lives? The main thing I like to tell people is that it's important to start early. So you don't want to be waiting until your senior year to start thinking about your career. It's really easy to kind of get your head down and think, oh, I have to do my classes, I have all these tests going on, and all that is very important, but you want to start thinking about career development in your freshman or sophomore year. And there are a lot of ways where you can just start building experience early. Really, college should do kind of two things for you for your career development. The first is that exploration piece. So just trying things out. A lot of times students think that they have to have this like central passion that they know they want to do and they're going to follow that. And that can be a lot of pressure. So instead it's just, just start trying things. Volunteer in a lab, try out an internship, and see what you like or what you don't like. And then the second thing that they should be getting is experience. So these days, about a third of Americans have a 4-year degree. So it's not just having the degree on your resume that really makes you stand out. It's what kind of experience do you have? And again, that doesn't just have to be jobs. So think about career development as a long-term process, either during school, after school, and start early.
Awesome. So you mentioned starting early. What are some ways that first-year students can start building that experience?
Yeah, so a lot of times your freshman year you are just figuring things out and figuring out your classes. So think about getting involved in a club. So there are hundreds of clubs at OSU, so you could join the American Meteorology Society Club or the Anthropology Club. And a lot of those clubs, they actually do a lot of the exploration things that you might be looking for. They might go off campus and do an industry tour. They might bring a speaker so you can learn about dairy production in Oregon. Whatever the thing is that you're wanting to learn. Those clubs are a really great place to do that. Also, your sororities and fraternities, if you can take on leadership responsibilities there, that can go on a resume. And then also, as you're picking classes and thinking about projects, try to steer towards classes that involve more robust research experience or group work. If you design some sort of website or mapping program, or I was thinking about some of my mapping students have worked with actually city governments to do real world projects. So things like that. Keep a running list of those things as you do them, because a lot of them could go on your resume.
Fantastic. And what about our sophomores and juniors?
Yeah, sophomores and junior, I think that's a really pivotal time for career development. It's a good time to really start digging in and getting that first internship or getting some work experience. So if it's, say, summer work, you can actually get a lot out of really any job that you do if you just know how to position it on your resume. So when I was a student, I was a server, a waitress during the summers, and I was able to use that for a few years on my resume just as a example of working well with people and managing stressful situations and training other people. And it's about bringing those aspects out of the job and mentioning those on your resume. And then those internships, a lot of times they're not looking for you to have all this experience already. They're looking a lot of times for college students and people that want to try out things and learn things. So sophomore and junior year is a good time to kind of start getting some work experience, I think.
Why is working at a job or internships during college important?
So like I said, some of the exploration and experience, but also getting those references is really good. People that can vouch for your work and speak to what you've done when you go to apply for the post-college job.
What tips do you have for seniors and students searching for their first full-time job?
Yes, so come by the Career Development Center first, and we'll work with you on your resume, or make an appointment with your assistant director in your college like me. But once you've got that stellar resume in place, a lot of finding jobs comes down to networking. And a lot of times we hear that word networking and it's like, what is that? It's so nebulous. I'm supposed to go to some sort of really hard event where I put on a suit. But there's a lot of ways to network. You can come to our career fairs. That's a great way to start talking to employers. But it can also be an informational interview, for instance. You maybe reach out to a company that you're interested in and just learn a little bit more. And they kind of interview you and you interview them. That's actually how I got my first job out of college, was an informational interview. So an employer from a public relations agency came and spoke to my class. I thought her presentation was really interesting, so I talked to her after the class, and then I mentioned her name to the HR department, that she had come to my class and that I was interested in an informational interview. And I came in and I learned about the company and I was excited, and the person I interviewed with, even though it wasn't for a specific job, actually ended up being the one who would hire me like 6 months later. because I kind of made that contact. So informational interviews are a great way to do it. A lot of companies are open to that, especially bigger companies. They do that kind of thing all the time. And then, we had a little pause there. And then they can also work on establishing that personal contact in other ways. So maybe you have a friend at the company and they can put in a good word for you, or you can do an alumni search in LinkedIn for Oregon State and find someone that works at that company you really want to work at, and say like, hey, I'm an Oregon State student, I'd love to learn about what you do, and then maybe they put in a good word for you. So there's a lot of ways to do it.
What can parents and family members do to help students with networking?
Yeah, so you have typically as parents, you have a bigger network than your students do starting out. And so you can help plug them in there, provided that they're interested in some of the same things that maybe you have done or that your friends have done. So offer to make an introduction for them with a friend or a relative or a coworker. And so you can be someone that can kind of help empower them in that way.
What can or where can students find job listings?
So our main job site is called Handshake, and that is the central career development website for Oregon State. It's across the whole university, so not college specific. And there are thousands of job listings there. It's where you can make career appointments. There's career events and career fairs that you can register for. So getting familiar with Handshake is a really good first step.
Is Handshake an Oregon State specific tool?
Oh yeah, so Handshake is actually nationwide. So 450 universities are using it. It's got over 200,000 employers on it. And so students can really tap into an enormous network. It's really become the gold standard for career development. So it's not something that Oregon State just kind of does on its own. And I also like to mention too that if students know about it, so if your student is using Handshake actively, they'll join the 30% of students or so that are currently using it. Handshake is still pretty new at OSU, and a lot of students don't know about it yet. So that means there's actually a lot of jobs that are just sitting there and nobody's applying for them, and I get calls from employers being like, nobody's applying for my job. And so if your student is one of those that knows about that job, then they have a leg up on the competition there.
What are the biggest things parents can do to help students get ready for their career?
So we talked about starting early is a good step, but also just kind of encouraging them to put themselves out there. Sometimes that can be a little bit scary, depends on the personality of your student, but going and talking to people, showing up at those career fairs and just starting that process, it can feel a little overwhelming, but just kind of doing it in whatever small ways. And sometimes, if your student's a little bit more on the introverted side, maybe it's just that they're getting to know, they're coming to office hours with a professor and talking to them about what they do. And, maybe they can set up just a one-on-one coffee date or something like that. So there's lots of ways to network, and just encouraging them to start that. And I also like to caution parents as well to have a lot of patience with your students as they're kind of going through this exploration process, because they might start a major and then decide it's not for them, or they might start a job and they like this aspect but not this aspect, and it's a really exciting time. So just kind of knowing that the process is not always linear, and just kind of giving students space to kind of try things out. College is a great time for that.
As we wrap up our time together, are there any other career resources parents should be aware of and know about?
Well, it's all kinds, but I guess I'll mention just lastly that there is our Career Development Center website, which is career.oregonstate.edu, and that has all the stuff. It's got, resume resources and videos and webinars, and that's also where you can access Handshake. So there's a button there that students can click, and they all already have an account once they're a student, so all they have to do is click and log on. So that's a good place to keep an eye on and look for further resources, and that's also where our contact information is for the Career Development Center. So if you had any more questions, you could always give us a call.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Britt, for your time today.
Yeah.
And thank you for tuning in with us to learn a little bit more about what career development looks like at Oregon State. For your student, whether they're a first-year student, a second-year student, or this might be their last year at OSU, we thank you for tuning in, and have a great day.